Oh, hey, you guys, it's me, Baz here, and I'm back with yet another episode of this great game we all know and love as Love, Money, and Rock and Roll. And last time, something happened. Our old Aguila friend, Catherine, came back. She just left us, up and left us, so it was hard shit, man. This is a friend, Himitsur. She likes to make food for us, and now she woke us up. Oh yeah, and yesterday someone left a note in front of my house saying someone's out to kill me. So yeah, that's very nice. Let's see what is gonna happen now. This has happened before. I jumped out of bed, staring in bewilderment at Himitsu and blurted out, "What day is it today? Tuesday?" She replied, frightened. "That's wrong. Tuesday, huh? Alright then, Tuesday it is then." I scanned the room meticulously. The open notebook I had tried doing my homework in the night before was still in the same spot, which meant that everything was fine. It just felt like tomorrow hadn't come. What do you mean? What do you mean? Well, like when you wake up and today is still yesterday, like in a sci-fi novel. You read too many of those. Himitsu laughed. I guess he did. Things did seem to be running their normal course, except I now became aware of a peculiar smell. I sniffed the air. Is that? Yes, well, I prepared breakfast ahead of time. A big pot of borscht sat on my stove. Good lord, but why? Didn't you ask for some yesterday? No, I didn't. I just mentioned it in passing. It was a joke. Well, you know what? She said menacingly. You're going to have to eat this joke now. Soup for breakfast? Ah, that was certainly unorthodox. Mitsu had outdone herself this time. Suppose yesterday I'd said something about foie gras and 1978 Chateau Margaux. Would they be awaiting me now too? In any case, the borscht tasted quite good. Granted, it wasn't exactly a traditional recipe. Well? Mitsu was sitting across from me, looking at me intently. Why aren't you eating? I'm waiting to hear what you think. Oh yeah, sorry, it's delicious. Really? He didn't believe me. Yes, really. Why wouldn't it be? Mitsu tried the borscht. Oh yeah. Now don't you dare complain about my cooking again. When did I ever complain? You just don't get my humor. I do get it. I thought it was just some light-hearted banter, but Himitsu didn't look her usual self. Every so often, a shadow of sadness passes over her face. Did something happen? No, what about you? What about me? At that moment, the events of the previous day flashed before my eyes. The surprise awakened, and the borscht had temporarily made me forget about Catherine and the note. Everything's fine, just a bit unexpected. Don't worry, it'll be alright. Good. Good, if you say so. She smiled. Let's go or we'll be late for tomorrow. School. I mean, what the fuck, tomorrow? We exchanged only a few words along the way. Somehow we just couldn't find a suitable subject for conversation. I didn't want to tell Himitsu about the note just yet, and she probably hadn't had anything happen to her overnight that was worth sharing. Sure, I could have talked about some random stuff, but that wasn't my thing. Sorry, boys. Why couldn't he, though? Would have been fun. Finally, we reached the school. No incidents today, I hope. I hemmed. Alright, see you. Don't sleep in class. Himitsu smiled and headed for her classroom. Okay, now I had to think of a way to snag Catherine's notebook without anyone noticing. I hoped she'd written something in it, preferably in Japanese. I was walking down the hallway, lost in thought, when someone called my name. Adore-kun! Hold it there. School principal. What was his name? Yes, Kiyama-sensei. What is it? Follow me to my office, please. The class is about to start. I protested like this sort of thing was something new to me.
It won't take long.
A wiry old man in his 70s, maybe even older, Kiyama-sensei, as always, cloyingly polite and cold. On top of that, he dressed and carried himself in a strictly European manner. I'd always been shocked by how devoted some Japanese people were to the Western lifestyle and culture. I could think of any number of sayings on the subject along the lines of, "To thine own self speak the truth." Although, wait, if he's 70s and we're in the 80s, that meant he probably fought in the Second World War. Wow. Okay, I guess. Although here, this had become something of a tradition in its own right. This was, after all, an elite school. What's the issue exactly?
Anno King-kun, please come along.
Well, naturally, he wasn't going to reprimand me in the middle of the hallway in the view of the entire school, was he? We went into his office, but someone was already here. Huh? Isn't it Elisama? I think it is. Huh, well, if it isn't Ujo-sama herself. Standing next to the principal's desk was in fact Elisama. Ah, the board from yesterday.
Ah, the board from yesterday.
I think that was Lois. She seemed equally surprised to see me here. Yesterday's cafeteria incident came back to me in vivid detail. The madam did give me a handkerchief in the end to wipe myself, and I tossed it into a dirty laundry at home. Whoops. I needed to return it. Let me guess.
Let me guess. You're a frequent visitor here.
She asked sarcastically. Well, I certainly didn't expect to find myself groveling at your Gray's feet today.
That will be all, Kobayashi-san.
Kobayashi. That last name sounded familiar. Ellie bade the principal a polite farewell and walked past me, shooting me an angry look. Hi.
Anno King-kun, do you know why you're here?
I've got a couple of theories. The principal sighed and gave me a sad look from behind his glasses.
Anno King-kun, I understand that Japanese culture is alien to you, but here at this school we have students of every nationality. We endeavor to provide all of them with the best opportunities. In return, we expect an appropriate level of respect and adherence to the school's rules.
Here we go.
I think you ought to understand this, especially considering your own situation.
What about my situation?
Let's not make this personal now.
No, what I meant was... Embarrassed, he removed his glasses and began wiping them slowly with a special cloth.
I meant to say that we make no distinctions between our students. The rules are the same for everyone.
I understand.
In that case, you must also understand that you can't just skip classes for no reason.
He put his glasses back on and gave me a hard look.
And speaking of your attendance record,
I understand.
If you understand, why do you keep skipping classes? Do you know who sponsors the school?
I shrugged.
Kobayashi Corporation. This name does mean something to you, does it not? The company's president himself is chairman of a school's board of trustees. Centuries-old traditions.
At that point, I tuned him out. Kobayashi Corporation and Kobayashi Alley. Things were adding up. Interesting. I wondered, would she still be the school queen if she had been born into an ordinary family? Family like Iwamura's, for instance?
Anno King-kun, what's that smirk for? Did he say something funny?
I'm very sorry, Kiyami-sensei. This will not happen again. I bowed to the ground. Oh, alright.
Alright, that's enough.
The old man apparently hadn't been expecting this degree of repentance from me. I have seen the error of my ways, and I promise this will never happen again.
Well, that's the most important thing, the fact that you understand and don't let it happen again. Very well, go now or you'll be late for class.
Thank you very much. I'm going now. Now we are a new and better person. I formally took my leave and marched out of his office. But why didn't you tell me that Elisama of yours is a Kobayashi? There was still a couple of minutes left before the beginning of the lesson.
I did tell you.
No, you didn't. You said her grandfather was the chairman of the board of trustees, as if I'm supposed to know who the chairman is.
That's the problem. You never know anything anyway. Why do you ask?
Pooh, sorry. Sorry about that, boys. Hope you can ever forgive me. I got called into the principal's office just now.
Was skipping class?
Why else? At that moment the bell rang. Only now did I remember Catherine. Her seat was behind me, so I couldn't watch her constantly. Was she writing anything down? How was I going to grab a notebook unnoticed anyway? Surprisingly, I was hardly at all anxious. Sleep had cleared my mind, and I found the whole situation more intriguing than troubling. Oh, that's good. Then we can go for Himitsu. The closing bell finally rang. Catherine got up and left the classroom. This was my chance. I slowly approached the desk, trying to look as inconspicuous as possible. I glanced around. My classmates were all minding their own business. I leaned down, opened the notebook, flipped through the pages. No, the handwriting was completely different. But how? Why? I had some... I had some issues with Japanese characters. But this much was obvious. Catherine did not write yesterday's note. Anokin-kun. I stood at attention. Spot exposed, disgraced.
Go to the teacher's room with Iwamura-san and bring the printouts for the next lesson.
That was close. I looked at Iwamura. She stood nearby, staring indifferently out the window. Right now, I only wanted to get out of the classroom as quickly as possible. Hi, Will. Did we get going?
I can go alone.
She didn't even look at my direction. But we were told to go together.
I'll manage by myself.
Under different circumstances, I would gladly have agreed with her. Listen, I understand and all, but I've already been to the principal's office today. I'm not burning with a desire to go back.
Suit yourself.
Iwamura shrugged and headed toward the door. Okay. Iwamura leaned, said something, I don't know. The hallways were unexpectedly empty. It was as if the students were hiding away in anticipation of something. Ooh. Look at this view. Nice. I don't know, it's not that nice, but I don't know. It's maybe just the drawing that's nice. I don't know, I don't get it. I'm dumb. Dumb, and dumb. Iwamura walked in silence. This was how she was acting after I defended her a day earlier. Awkward silence desperately demanded a conversation to break it. So, do you have to do this often? I couldn't think of anything better to say. She raised her eyes and looked at me in surprise. That was the first. So I had achieved the desired effect after all.
Well, of course. I'm the class president.
Oh yeah, right, sorry. Silence again. It's just that we've never really talked. I don't even know your first name.
Why do you need to?
It's only natural. Here, I'm Nikolai. This visibly embarrassed Iwamura, who seemed to be hesitating with her answer. In Japanese culture, addressing someone by their first name is a sign of close, possibly vulgar familiarity. For some reason, it looked like she got stains on hers. I don't know. But no, it's apparently not. How about I think it's this thing. Oh, it's because there's like... Oh, okay, I get it. In Japanese, this was especially true in our case. But I didn't bother with all these conventions.
Capcom.
She said quietly. What? Really? A loud burst of laughter escaped my lips. spooking several passing girls who went as far around us as they could come.
What's so funny?
Kagome frowned. Nothing, it's just, well, you know, it's a weird name.
No weirder than yours.
What? What's wrong with my name? It's a normal name, Nikolai. Nicholas, if you prefer, or Nick.
You're all the same.
He was starting to get worked up, it seemed. Wait, so what does Kagome mean? Who's we? Gaijin?
No, the local Morons.
How rude. Kagome snorted and turned away. Listen, do you have a problem with me?
I think you have a problem.
Oh, really? And what is it? I'm curious.
Who's that new foreigner?
I opened my mouth in surprise. Why would she be asking about that? Why?
You've been staring at her non-stop for 2 days now.
Have you been spying on me?
I'd have to be blind not to notice.
He responded, unfazed. That's really none of your business.
Of course it's not.
Kagome smirked.
But neither is my life any of yours, so why are you prying?
He had a point. Say the two of you used to date. Yeah, just be honest with her. We were in a relationship at one point. Kakume's facial expression was hard to read and she remained silent. Why did you bring her up anyway?
It's not every day that we have a new student in our class, and such a striking foreigner at that.
I'm a foreigner too, you know. He looked me up and down, sniggered, and said,
Yeah, sure.
I knew it. Not only would my face not pass as Japanese, but now I am being denied the title of a proper gaijin as well. Imagine that. You can't get... They won't call you Japanese, they won't call you a foreigner. Racism at its finest. It's the joke. Calm down. Sit down. Sit down out there. Are you always like this? I was starting to lose my temper.
We've arrived. Wait here.
Hey. Just in time, too, before I could open my mouth. Kagome went into the teacher's room, and before I knew it, she was back with a large stack of paper.
Carry it.
What? All of it? I couldn't see any way to carry the heap comfortably. What if we each carry half?
Didn't you yourself volunteer to come along?
No, I didn't. The teacher sent me, if you recall.
Fine. Give it here.
Kagome attempted to take all of the papers from me at once. No way, that won't do either. Which of us looked more pathetic now? Spurred on by wounded pride, I walked fast so the return trip took considerably less time. I dropped the mountain of papers onto the teacher's desk with a thud while Kagome took her seat and returned to her usual window gazing. I guess no one deserves to be bullied, but man, I could almost understand those punks from yesterday. Judging by the clock, the bell was less than a minute away. Catherine's desk was empty. I turned to Michael, who sat next to her. Did Catherine, the new girl, did she go somewhere?
Don't know. Wasn't really paying attention. Why?
Never mind, no reason. Bummed, I sat down at my desk. Could she have somehow noticed that I opened her notebook? No way, Catherine wasn't even in the classroom at the time. Did someone tell her? How long ago did she leave?
I'm telling you, I don't know. Are you talking about the new girl? I think she went to see the principal.
A classmate had overheard our conversation. Thanks. The chair beneath me felt like it was on fire. That's how badly I wanted to run after her. But to what end? What was I going to tell her? As the bell sounded, my feet seemed to acquire a will of their own. It carried me to the door, then past the teacher and out to the hallway. I turned to the corner at a run and stopped. What the hell am I doing? Why all this? The school had gone silent, frozen still as though in awe of inescapable might of pure knowledge.
I was slowly tiptoeing through the empty hallways towards the principal's office. If I were to run into one of the teachers now, I would have to explain myself all over again. On the other hand, it would be no better if I showed up at his office myself. Speaking of which, here it was. I pressed an ear to the door, but no sound was coming from the other side. Either way, they were playing the silent game, or Catherine wasn't there. So what next? It was too late to go back to class. I wandered the empty hallways and didn't even notice how I ended up in the old wing. Our school had been repeatedly rebuilt since it first opened its doors right after the war, with new buildings added on as old ones fell into decay. Oh, so this is from after the war. That makes sense. Why our principal was that old then? A soldier. Not sure if he was a soldier, but he could be. I hope he was. Inefficient, if you ask me. Why not tear down the old structures first and build new one in its place? Yeah, that's the Soviet life way of thinking. I don't know. I don't care. I don't know either. Ask Nikolai. He seems to know more. Theoretically, there shouldn't have been anyone in this wing, but suddenly I heard music. A guitar. The sound was coming from what, judging by the plague, was an old music classroom. I opened the door a crack. Isn't that that's Ellie? Yes, it's Ellie. She looks like a foreigner too. Look, blue eyes, blonde hair, but she's Kobayashi. But Ellie doesn't sound that Japanese, does it? Ellie. It might be I don't know. Let's just call her Scandinavian. Let's say she's Danish. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't sound Danish either. She's not Danish. I know where she's from. Chad. Go, come down. Ah. None other than Kobayashi Ellie. He was the last person I expected to find here. He was doing a fine job playing though. The tune was nice and the execution was equally good. Music, at least, was one area that I knew a thing or two about. Ellie herself seemed to be glowing with happiness, looking nothing like the prime princess I'd encountered in the principal's office this morning. Cool though, this lyrical discretion was, I certainly couldn't let it... chance like this slip by. Well, well, who do we have here? The guitar went abruptly silent. My applause was the only sound interrupting the silence that had descended on the place. Ojo-sama, I didn't know you played the guitar too. Many emotions flickered across her face: embarrassment, surprise, annoyance, resentment. You! Oh. Please pay no attention to me. Carry on. You! What are you doing here? I followed a beautiful siren song, but I could never have imagined it would be by you. Ojo-sama. Enough! Ellie blurted out, stood up abruptly, and froze as if not knowing what to do next. Hey, come on, don't be upset. I just didn't realize you played the guitar somehow. I wouldn't associate you with the instrument. Now the violin, maybe. I can play violin too. He cut in. Really? Well, that's cool. Why aren't you in class? It's no mystery why I'm skipping. What about yourself? I'm not skipping. We have a break. Alright. I smirked. You don't have to make excuses to me. I'm not making excuses. You, on the other hand, should watch your behavior. What were you doing at the principal's this morning? Drop by for a cup of tea. In any case, it's none of your business. I wasn't trying to be rude, but that's exactly how it came out. Actually, it is my business, seeing as my grandfather... I'm aware. They gave me a surprised look. What? Is it a secret? No, of course not. Even so, suddenly we heard voices in the hallway. Hey! Ellie whispered anxiously. Why? You're on a break, and I'm used to it. I said sardonically, albeit in a lower voice. Albeit. She didn't answer, but was looking at me pleadingly. She must have had her reasons. Yeah, let's fucking hide. Alright, fine. Except I don't see where we could hide there. In there. Ellie grabbed my hand and dragged me to a small door which I had missed initially. Oh, I know where this is going. I think I did this in the demo too. The door opened into a cramped utility closet. What? Here? I hesitated. The closet was definitely not roomy enough for 2 people. Get in already! I forgot a lot about the demo. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this little part from the demo. But Ellie clearly thought otherwise. Next thing I knew, she shoved me inside and stepped in herself.
Locked in the closet with a girl. I remember this because this was the thumbnail of the first demo episode. Wait, we were packed in like sardines, and this place reeked, yet perceptibly, through the stench of dampness, moldiness, and dust was the sweet aroma of Ellie's perfume. A killer combination, to say the least. The classroom door opened and several people entered.
I think I've heard something.
You must have misheard, Kiyama-sensei.
The principal was talking to one of the teachers.
I'm not hearing things. I may be getting on in the years, but I'm still more than capable.
Heavens, no, Kiyama-sensei. I didn't mean any of that sort. Anyhow, this ramshackle place should have been torn down long ago.
A third voice joined the conversation.
This ramshackle place, as you called it.
The principal let out a sigh so loud I could hear it clearly even from the closet.
I remember arriving here as a young teacher, right after the war, traded in my rifle for a pointer.
He was a soldier, I knew it.
You could say, chalk taking the place of ammunition.
Who would have guessed that our principal was so sentimental? Ellie suddenly fidgeted. Naturally, anyone would be uncomfortable hiding in a cramped closet with so little room even for one person. Or was she uncomfortable with me in particular? I shifted my gaze to Ellie's. Of course she was uncomfortable. But I desperately didn't want to have to be lectured by the principal again because of some Ojiu-sama. Would you be quiet? I hissed. She turned red like a boiled lobster, her breathing becoming rapid and irregular. It really was an awkward situation, but it was for both of us, and I was still trying to hang on. Just because Ellie played the guitar didn't necessarily mean she had experience in the area. I didn't finish the thought. The girl's scent hit my nose with new strength, making my head spin. Though, who was I to pass judgment on her experience? Yes, I'd dated Catherine, but I'd gotten somewhat used to her. Whereas, here was a completely different girl standing next to me. Not just next to me, pressed right against me. My heart started beating faster. I swallowed. Ellie looked up at me with a frightened look in her eyes. What do you want from me? I silently mouthed. She didn't respond, just kept fidgeting. Although her movements were now making the whole situation uncomfortable for me, I made a face that, in my mind, was supposed to mean quiet. She seemed to have understood. Meanwhile, the principal continued his oration.
And after all of that, you talk of, this is our cultural heritage. It should be made into a museum. Certainly, Kiyami-sensei. But let's go now. We have a meeting coming up. Yes, forgive me. I got a bit carried away.
Okay, bro. You can see some of the things up here. I guess this is the print. No, I'm joking. Calm down. The moment the door closed behind them, Ellie came flying out of the closet. I stepped out after her. I had to say something. It was a bit tight in there. She looked at me dumbfounded. Tight? Tight? You pervert, you broke me all over. I didn't touch you at all. You groped me with your eyes then. You think I couldn't see it? Feel it? What? can he grope with his eyes? That's so fucking dumb. What the fuck? Calm down already, will you? How can you grope someone with your eyes? See, I agree. I agreed with him. And anyway, it was your idea to hide in there. Yes, but... That's all there is to it. Ellie's expression turned dreary, and she lowered her gaze. I suppose it's befitting a young lady to behave like this, isn't it? Befitting. She smiled sadly. Well, I'm not the best person to give advice on these matters, but for what it's worth, I don't think there's anything wrong with playing the guitar. You must enjoy music a lot, huh? Yes. This time her smile was more genuine. Then I don't see a problem. Just then a distant bell announced it was break time. Alright, I gotta go. See you. Oh, she liked that. Look at it. First time I've seen her like this, I guess. Her final parting smile was utterly disarming. I was left standing alone inside an empty music classroom of an empty old wing. What a strange girl. This whole musical interlude made me entirely forget the reason I had wound up in here in the first place. I'd been looking for Catherine. I had absolutely no desire to go back to class where I could expect another scolding. Simply skipping was bad enough, but to have run out of the classroom right in front of the teacher? No, thank you. I managed to slip out of the building unnoticed, and here I was, free as the wind, rolling down a sidewalk in one of Tokyo's central districts. I just wanted to chill out. This whole day had been a waste. The only thing I achieved was determining that Catherine had not written yesterday's note. Yeah, I guess. The note. Unpleasant thoughts crept into my head. Yeah, who wrote it? Is it this? I think this is the writing. Who made this? Calm down, it's a joke. Calm down. But if she didn't write it, who did? What if it wasn't a prank? Just what was going on? More had happened to me in the past day and a half than over the course of the past year and a half. That entire time, I hadn't really socialized with anyone except maybe Himitsu. Well, add to that Kyosuke and occasionally Michael. Now Catherine was back, and there was Kakume and Ellie. What next? Was I going to turn into a magical girl? As if by chance I ended up near a familiar bar. A couple of rounds of beer were an absolute must right now. I'd relax, clear my head. The inside wasn't crowded, which made sense for the time of the day. People were supposed to be either at work or school. Like in that joke about the 3-story building and the hurricane. Even though I wasn't a stranger here, I always had a fake passport at the ready. A classmate whose father worked in the law enforcement had hooked me up at one point. How great! There were lots of students at the school who had these passes to adult life. How could you prove it wasn't real? A document's a document, especially when some insolent snot is shoving it in your face. Not to mention that the bar's owner was Russian. Chuckling, he usually told people that he used to be a pirate who was shipwrecked off the coast of Japan. That was a tall tale. Of course, most likely he was just a regular immigrant, like my parents. I sat down at the counter and ordered the beer.
Hey, Collier, what's up? You're very early today.
Yeah, kinda worked out that way.
You aren't going to get into trouble at school, are you? You know how strict they are about these things here.
I giggled nervously.
Okay, I see. None of my business.
A good bartender is invariably a good psychologist. It's practically a qualification for the job. Beer at this place was served in pint-sized mugs, which made me very happy. Squealing with pleasure after downing a tiny glass in one gulp was not my thing. Yuck! I took a long pull. Catherine's back. The bartender raised his eyebrows and asked with unfeigned surprise.
And what are you going to do now?
At times I wondered if showing empathy to customers was something more than just a professional skill for him. What can I do? She hasn't been over eager to talk, and neither have I. A Any rate, I'm certainly not going to throw myself at her. The way she back. Because of her mother's work, probably. She couldn't have come by herself, right? Most likely not. So I'm in this weird spot now. You know what they say. Life is like a zebra. A black stripe followed by a white stripe and then a black one again and then a white one again.
Yeah, but then there's...
We both laughed.
You know what, Collier? Don't get down.
He said encouragingly.
You still have your whole life ahead of you. The two of you will make up 100 times over yet. And if not, you'll find yourself another girl. Lots of them, all over.
Bartender spread out his arms, inviting apprehensive looks from the few schoolgirls nestled at a table in the furthest corner of the room. Thanks for the comforting words. There's so much else beside that anyway. Life is in full swing.
And each swing hits you on the head.
Geez, did he keep a glossary of saying under his counter? The bar door flew open and a group of young people entered. Having immediately recognized among them the punks from the day before, I instinctively buried my face in the mug. Was I scared? So it seemed. They sat down at a table and ordered beer and cocktails for the girls.
You know them?
The bartender asked quietly, leaning in toward me. Wouldn't say I know them, but we met. I gave them the occasional sidelong glance. I wondered if I should get up and leave. Wouldn't that look cowardly though? Then again, to who? They hadn't even noticed me. No sooner did I think than one of the guys got up and walked over to the counter.
Hey! Hey, I know you.
If you say so. I said as calmly as possible without even sparing him a glance.
I don't think you know who you're dealing with, Gaijin.
I'm not dealing with anyone.
So it wasn't you who punched my friends in the face yesterday?
If it was me, he deserved it.
Really? Then how about we step outside for a little chat?
I looked at the bartender, but he only shrugged. Some empathy, damn it. Alright, let's step out. What else could I do? Half a minute later, we were standing in an alley behind the bar. A couple older guys joined the school kids. Where did they even come from?
Not so tough now, are you?
Said the one I punched yesterday. Oh fuck those wrong boys then.
That'll teach him to stand up for horse.
I looked at the girl. Compared to her, Kagome was Mother Teresa. Okay. Well, what next? Gonna beat me up 4 against 1? That's impressive. What happened to your code of honor? The Yakuza have one. I sneered at the largest guy among them. You've definitely got that mugshot of a fuck. The older guys clenched their teeth, their expression hardening.
What did you say?
Let's get it over with already. A thought flashed through my mind. What if I struck first? That way, at least I'd retain a smidgen of self-respect. And I think I just got hit. Didn't I? Yeah, I think so. But I had no time to decide as a strong shove to the back threw me to the ground. That was low. The blows hit hard, but they didn't go on for long. I curled up into a ball, covering my head with my arms. It hurt. Getting beat up like a real gamer. By the time I recovered my senses, the bastard had vanished without a trace. I got up slowly and felt myself over. Nothing was broken, it seemed. My face was mostly intact as well, except for a black eye. Oh, good. I returned to the bar and sat down in the same seat. I no longer felt like carrying a cordial conversation with the bartender. Although that could have what could he have done? Stand at my side and fight? Call the police? Nonsense.
Hey, there's...
He pointed off to the side with his eyes. I turned my head. Sitting just a couple meters away from me was Catherine. Well, hi, I guess. I said a little while later, after waiting for her to start the conversation. Bad chance of that happening. Wait. I said a little while later, after waiting for her. Oh, okay, I see. I'm done. Hi. Catherine replied indifferently. I shifted to a closer seat while she ordered a cocktail for herself. What's with the face? Nothing serious. He wasn't buying it. I fell. Face first into concrete several times in a row? Yeah, it got lucky. I'll get it next time. Is that so? Said Catherine apathetically. Wow, I'm bad at this. So are you also skipping school? I had to start the conversation in the most neutral way possible. Also? He looked at me asking, well, it's nothing new to me. I guess it isn't. I heard you went to the principal. Maybe I did. What of it? The tone of her voice didn't change, but her eyes flashed. Katja, I don't want to start everything up again. And don't. I'm not. Or was I? Just put yourself in my shoes. How would you be reacting? Wouldn't you be asking the same questions? What questions? Fine, I understand you're here because of your mother's work, but this particular school, why? What? Am I getting in your way? Catherine was sipping on her cocktail with an expression of absolute indifference. No, of course not. It's just, when I think about how we parted back then. That's all in the past. You don't really think that I should have chosen a different school or changed my life in any way just because of you, do you? Why would I do that? Simply to avoid running into you again? That's not what I was thinking. He was right. Actually, I had no comeback. But she was right only if she really didn't feel anything towards me. Now, everything pointed to that being the case. But I just couldn't believe, didn't want to believe, that she could be so cruel. I think she is. I think she is. Or is she? I don't know. So everything's alright? Of course. Then we can remain friends? Barely a perceptible smirk appeared in Catherine's face. Do you want us to? Why not? The past is in the past. We have to move on. Go on living. You sound like someone with PTSD. That's when I started to get worked up. It's all in the past for me as well, if that's what you mean. Is it? Good. Great. I turned away, pretending to study the menu. Was I supposed to get up and leave? That would be it. I'd have to forget all about her for certain. Damn it. Was I really still hoping for something? Each time Catherine hurt me more and more, but like a mindless gnat, I kept slamming into the window, as if I was trying to prove something to someone. In the course of this year and a half, I had become so accustomed to living with memories of her that now, when she was so close, I simply couldn't let go of her. These memories seemed like my only hope, the only thing holding me back from doing something foolish and fatal. Was I thinking of something specific? Unlikely. But I was hoping, naturally. I see you're not wasting any time. Catherine gave me a surprised look. Nothing was worse than indifference. Bitter if she got mad at me. I snatched the cocktail out of her hands and said snittily, "Getting an early start, are we?" As I raised the glass to my mouth and heard Catherine's indifferent voice somewhere in the background. It's non-alcoholic. It really was. Sorry. I set the glass back down on the counter. You on the other hand, have kept to your habits, I see. What do you mean? Her eyes shot over to the empty beer mug, which I had tried to move as far away as possible. God damn it, bartender. It's been a rough day. Yeah, how so? Are you really interested? Just keeping up the conversation. Would you rather that I just ignored you? I sighed and answered. I was called into the principal's office. Yep, same as always, skipping school. Well, you know me. Then there was also a curious episode with a certain Ujjul Summer. Your new girlfriend? You mugging me? No, just keeping up the conversation, I told you. If I'm disturbing you, I can leave. I don't have a girlfriend. Nor have I ever. I added in a half whisper. And how's Mitsu doing? If you're so interested, you could visit her and ask. I don't believe you have had a falling out with her. Maybe I will go see her. Catherine responded vaguely and glanced towards the entrance. Was she about to leave? Something stung on the inside. I wanted her to stay, even if she was going to mock me. Himitsu is fine. I don't even know what else to tell you. Same as always, basically. Same as always, is she? He drawled. Are you surprised that someone can actually treat me normally? Of course not. I'm happy for Himitsu, and I'll definitely visit her if I get the chance. But now I need to go. She set the unfinished cocktail down on the counter and stood up. Alright, see you at school. Catherine nodded and left the bar.
Dang, bro. You took a beating.
Don't even start.
How about a drink in the house?
Did he want to make it up to me? No thanks. I think I've had enough for today. I left the bar and stretched. As expected, the bruises ached. If the past couple days of my life resembled some dumb manga from Kyosuke's collection, then my encounters with Catherine felt more like a soap opera. A vicious, sticky, dark brew with a beginning but no end. How long was this going to go on? In less than a year, I was going to graduate, and then what? My dad's savings weren't going to last long. I would need to get a job. Thoughts of higher education didn't even cross my mind. But what skill did I possess? Did I want to toil interminably, day after day, like the Japanese? Did you know there's been a special word in Japanese that means death from overwork? Questions. It was getting late. I'd been wandering aimlessly around the city for a number of hours, occasionally stepping inside stores or just window shopping. I was killing time, killing yet another day of my life. It was completely dark by the time I arrived at my house. The lights were on inside. I immediately remembered yesterday it snowed, and a light shiver ran down my spine. Nah, that was ridiculous. An assassin waiting for a victim inside the house with the lights on. Still logical or not, someone was obviously inside. Probably Himitsu. I carefully opened the door and saw a woman's shoes in the hallway. Himitsu. I should have guessed right away. Who else had any need of me? I'm stretching my fat poor thigh. Hi, I said nonchalantly, entering the kitchen. Himitsu was sitting at the Himitsu was sitting at a set table. She had apparently been waiting for some time. Nico-kun, where have you been? I was worried. If a moment ago I might have been glad to see her, all that was out the window now. Not another interrogation. Oh, what happened to you? She jumped up from her chair when she noticed my black eye. Nothing serious. I ran into some robbers, made short work of them, but one got in the eye. Got me in the eye. Stop talking nonsense. It's not nonsense. You want to see the police report? He pouted but calmed down, having probably realized that I was fine. I asked Kyosuke-kun, and he said you weren't there for the last few classes. I wasn't. What of it? I snapped back. Nothing, it's just so much has happened lately that I was worried. Why would you worry about me? Did you think I was going to go drown myself? No, I didn't. Nothing much has happened anyway. I was about to add, at least not to you, but stopped myself at the last second. After all, Himitsu had done nothing wrong. Meanwhile, she was looking at me expectantly. I had to tell her something. I debated whether I should mention Catherine. It's not like it's a secret or anything, right? We didn't do anything objectionable. Still, maybe Himitsu didn't need to know about this. Yeah, let's just be honest with her. I was with Katya. Really now, why was I feeling all embarrassed about this like an 8th grader on his first date? Really? Cool, and how's Kati-chan? Himitsu replied without skipping a beat, as if reading from a script. I suppose she's fine. But you know how she is sometimes. You have to drag every word out of her. Mitsu smiled. All right, sit down and eat. The dinner's cold, of course, but you only have yourself to blame. I was, in fact, hungry as hell. We ate dinner in silence, without talking, without the TV, and without even looking at each other. I could almost feel the charge of tension in the air. It was one thing for me to stay silent, but why was Himitsu keeping quiet? Just because I told her about Catherine? After so many years, Himitsu had come to know me very well, so she knew that there were times when it was better to remain silent and times when it was better to do the opposite. So what was she hoping to achieve now? She knew I wasn't a fan of small talk, but the silence was becoming unbearable. I was cool. Fine. That's it? Just fine? Nothing happened to Saya-chan? No, why do you ask? I set down the chopsticks and leaned back in my chair. Probably because you've been quiet the entire dinner. I'm not quiet, I mean, not on purpose. Himitsu got flustered. Then what is it? He was obviously working up the courage to continue. These sorts of conversations had always been difficult for her. Because I was worried. Did you even check the time? You could have called at least. Called? Called where? Here. He replied in a faltering voice. I was supposed to know you'd be here. We aren't living together last I checked. Maybe we should. He mumbled softly. I agree. We really should. Then there's free dinner every day. Yeah. I pretended not to hear it. The conversation had clearly taken a wrong turn. Alright, you know what? I'm really tired today. You head home and I'll do the dishes. What? I'll see you tomorrow. Mitsu hung her head and stood up from the table. Good night. Then the door closed behind her. I breathed a sigh of relief. Right now I absolutely needed some alone time. I felt as though trapped between two fires, or even 3 or 4. A veritable ring of fire that was slowly but surely closing in on me. And how was I acting? Sluggishly and indifferently, like a decrepit old man who had long stopped caring about his life. On one hand, there was Catherine, who I simply couldn't put out of my mind. On the other, there was Himitsu, who clearly wasn't happy to see Catherine back. Then there was also the note, the new acquaintances, my non-existent plans for the future, and the future itself, shrouded in a thick haze of uncertainty. I stretched out in the bed and remembered Ellie. Even if the closet episode felt like it had been ripped straight out of some tacky manga, it still had been a pleasant one. What if Ellie could help with the note somehow? No doubt she had good connections. As for Himitsu and Catherine, come what may, maybe things would resolve themselves. Oh, with these thoughts, I fell asleep.
Okay. What is he dreaming then? Nothing, he just woke up.
Wait, isn't it night already? Oh, I was woken up by the telephone. What time was it? It don't look like morning. Cost me some pains to make it to the phone. Hello. I sounded terribly groggy.
Nikolai, you are in great danger. You need to be extremely careful.
A voice said in Russian. I was still half asleep, so I couldn't really understand what was going on. What? Who is this?
I repeat, be extremely careful. Pay particular attention to what you are doing, who you talk to, and what you talk about.
The voice sounded unnatural, as though the speaker had pressed a cloth against the receiver. Who is this? What do you want? Was it you who left the note?
Not once.
Beeping. Now I was scared. Did I call the police? And what would I say? An ordinary school kid of no interest to anyone, a note, and a telephone call. It all added up to a prank. What the first thing I did was to lock all doors and unplug the phone. It could be a prank, but then who was the prankster? Michael wouldn't do it, and Kioske? It wouldn't even cross his mind. And why did all this start just as Catherine returned to Japan? Even if she didn't write the note. I pulled the blanket over my head. Sleep refused to come, but the fear eventually subsided a bit. I told myself that I would try to sort all of this out tomorrow with a fresher head. It's starting to get real scary. What will happen now? No one knows. The 9th of September, 1980. Okay. So, you know what, boys? I want to save this. Nice. And I want to say thanks for watching this episode. Remember to like, subscribe, watch my other videos on the channel. Leave a comment telling me, who do you think is threatening us? Because I don't know. And tell me also if something. I don't know. Just leave a comment, like, and all that kind of stuff. And I'll see you all next time. Bye!